What's up, YouTube? It's the Action Figure Grader coming back to you with another video, and I am a little bit under the weather right now. I picked up a virus or something from my daughter, but that is not going to stop me from summarizing eBay sales for you guys. So I did put together a video here with some really nice items that sold, mainly focused on the really nice mint-on cards that Jeff Jacobs sold on eBay last Sunday night as of the filming of this video. And if you don't know Jeff, he's got probably one of the best collections of vintage Star Wars figures you're ever going to find anywhere. Pretty much the best collection I've ever seen. And he does sell on eBay, and he sold some loose graded figures as well as some mint-on cards, one of which I did pick up, so very happy about that. It has not arrived yet, but I'm sure I'll show that in a video here soon. But let's go ahead and take a look at all the good action here. The first one is a 12-back B AFA 80 Stormtrooper. This one just sold yesterday as of the making of this video, and this was a stunner. Archival case, AFA 80, the subgrades were 85, 80, 80, and it was an unpunched example with no price sticker. Well, I'm sorry, I take that back. There is a price sticker, and it is right here, Anne and Hope, for $199. Somebody got a really good investment on that if they held on to it and got it graded. But what a stunner. Look how beautiful that is. That looks case fresh, and it sold pretty quickly. $24.99.99, so $2,500 and change on a 12-back B AFA 80 Stormtrooper. Wow, that is a big boy purchase right there, and awfully pretty. This was actually, I thought, a really good deal. This one is the Canadian debut card for Yoda, and it was an unpunched example, no price sticker, graded CAS 85 plus, and it did have the blister support on there, so you can see the label there. 85, 85, 90 were the sub scores for an overall 85 plus. I like those blister supports for these fairly expensive card backs. I just think it adds another layer of protection, and this is exactly how mine is encased that I picked up on Rogue 5 Toys on Facebook. I've always got a link in every video in the video description to the Facebook page for Rogue 5 Toys that is run by Chris W. and all the other guys that run 5 Idiots Talking Toys on YouTube. So I picked up mine maybe a year ago, and mine's a CAS 85, straight 85s. And let me tell you, I think I paid more than what this one sold for. This one was a CAS 85 plus, and it was listed for $1,300. The best offer that was accepted was $1,050. And I did find another one that was CAS graded that was an 85 grade, so slightly lower grade. That one sold for $1,000. I believe we covered that in a market update video maybe a month or two ago. But that one is a stunner, and I'm really happy to have that one in my collection. But $1,050 took that one home. I thought that was a great price. A couple of different ESB Boba Fetts that were both graded sold. This one was the 45-back Star Wars Display Arena, and this one was graded CAS 75. So it did have some, dings to the blister, which held the score back just a little bit. But overall, I mean, any ESB Boba Fett's going to be pretty in demand. I thought this price was really good as well, $24.73 on 29 bids. That one closed on April 22nd. So again, would this receive a 75 grade with AFA? Probably not, just given how strict AFA is, but I think this looks like every bit of a 75 to me, just based on the limited photos. I can't tell if that's a scratch on the card by the hang tab or what, but it could just be a hair or something, I don't know. But the blister, it was not perfect. It did have some issues. That was probably the main culprit for getting the 75 grade, but what a stunner, and it was unpunched as well. So there's a nice close-up of the blister. You can see the dings at the top of the blister on both corners there. But $24.73 took that one home. And then here was the 47-back free 4-LOM offer. This one was a punched example. The blister looked to be in better shape. It was graded AFA 75 plus with a price sticker. The subgrades were 75, 80, 85. So it's always tough to find ESB or 21-back Boba Fett's where the figure is not degraded inside the blister. It just feels like more and more commonly you'll see with freshly graded mint-on card Boba Fett's, the figure score will be like a 70 or a 75. And these figures do degrade inside the blister, but this one did get the 85 grade, and that was a really nice one as well. That one sold for $25.52. So Again, two separate card backs, the 45 back and the 47 back, but they both sold within about the same price range, about $2,500 or so. And both of those were really nice. Next up, we're going to dig into what Jeff's Collectible Empire had. He had a ton of really nice CAS graded mint on cards, and a couple of ESBs, and then some Trilogos, as well as some Return of the Jedi figures. So this one was the, this one I believe was the 48 back. 48 back A, offerless Cloud Car Pilot. The subgrades were 75, 85, 80 for an overall 75. A little bit of card wave to it, as you can see there. That probably held it back a little bit. A little bit of wear around the hang tab as well. So those were probably the main culprits as to why it got the overall 75. But clear blister. One of the accessories was still taped inside the blister, but the communicator had fallen off the tape. But that's a really nice example. I think mine's an overall 80 or 80 plus with CAS, but that one sold for $210. $210. That's a great price to me for a clear blister ESB Cloud Car Pilot. And really all of them except for the one I bought from Jeff that ended on Sunday night, I thought were all pretty fair prices. I thought the one I bought was an overpay, but maybe not. I don't know. We'll get to it in a second here. But this was a yellowed Gamorrean Guard. This one was, I think, let's see, if it was an unpunched. No, it was a punched example with the Anakin offer sticker. It also had that sticker in the upper left-hand corner. And many of you may not be aware of what that is. When you see that little sticker in the upper left-hand corner, Kenner, during some of the Return of the Jedi figures, they moved over to new SKUs. And so what happened was they used the old SKUs on the printed on the card back, and then they overlaid it with a sticker with the new SKU. And this is an example of that. I do have an AT-AT driver. I think it was a 65 back that has that new sticker over top of it. And so this is just an example of that. So in case any of you were wondering what that sticker is, if you find those on Return of the Jedi card backs, that's just because Kenner at that point decided to move over to a new SKU number for all the different figures, and they just slapped a sticker over top of the old one. So anyway, that one was graded 75 plus, obviously a yellow blister, and that one sold for $172.19. I thought that price was pretty fair. Next up was the Prune Face, again with the SKU sticker in the upper left. It also had the free coin offer as well as the Anakin offer. So it had two different offer stickers on the front of the card, so that's kind of a cool item. And it did have a very moderately or slightly yellowed blister. It was an overall 75 grade with CAS. That one sold for $168.50, so really good prices there. On really all of the Return of the Jedi card backs, I thought all the prices were great. Here was a CAS 75 AT-ST driver, and this one had a clear blister, which is common. We talked about this in past videos where the AT-ST driver is one of the few figures, either on the Power of the Force card back or even on some of the Return of the Jedi card backs, where the blister stays clear. And I can't tell you why. It just must be a certain chemical composition used with the plastic for the figure. Or maybe it just missed, there's a fire retardant that was used to make the blister on some of the Return of the Jedi card backs, or all of the Return of the Jedi card backs, starting with the 65 back, or maybe the 77 backs, that caused it to turn yellow. But for whatever reason, the AT-ST driver did not have that issue, and this is a 77 back, so that one, I believe, has that fire retardant, but maybe some of the Hong Kong or Taiwan factories, this one was a Hong Kong, so maybe some of the Hong Kong factories just didn't use that same chemical that was used in some of the blisters. I don't know the answer, and at the end of the day, it probably doesn't really matter to you. But anyway, it was a clear blister 75. That one sold for $170 plus $15 shipping. Here was a clear blister Klaatu, and this one was the 65 back B, 80 plus grade. I thought this was a great price, $177.50. I know who bought this one, and I thought that was a great price. He asked me what it was going to sell for, and I said, I have no idea. He was talking $300, and I said, I don't think it's going to reach $300. I thought it would reach $200, but it did not. It sold for $177.50. So that was a really good price, I think, for an unpunched Klaatu. Really nice example with a clear blister. Next up was the Rancor Keeper, and this one it was advertised as a clear blister, and it might just be some reflections coming off of the figure there, because that blister does look yellowed on the left-hand side, but You know, my Trilogo that I bought in the same lot also looked yellowed, but I think it's just a reflection, you know, a reflective glare that some of the photos captured. But it look, you know, on the left-hand side, it looks yellowed, but it might just be, again, you know, bad photos. But this one got a 75, and it had the Anakin sticker as well as that SKU number sticker in the upper left-hand corner. That one sold for $171.50, so another good buy there, and a tough one to find with a clear blister, assuming it's clear. This one obviously has a yellow blister. This is the Nikto on that same Anakin Skywalker Return of the Jedi card back. Here's the back of the card. It's a partially unpunched, and it was an overall 80, 85, 90 yellow blister. That one sold for $140.50. 140 and change for a 77 back, so that's a good buy there. This is another one with a double offer sticker. I don't know what it is. I love it when you have multiple offer stickers on these Return of the Jedi card backs. This is the Week Way, and it had the free coin offer. It had the Anakin Skywalker sticker as well as the SKU sticker. So it had lots of different stickers going on this one, and this was a 77 back, obviously. This one was graded CAS 75 with the yellow blister. That one sold for $139.50. So lots of good deals on all of those. Now let's dig into the Trilogos, and I was really interested in two of them. And one of them was this one. This is the Hoth Stormtrooper, Imperial Stormtrooper with the Hoth battle gear. And it was graded in overall 80. And the subscores were 80, 85, 85. And as I've talked about in past videos, in my opinion, usually Collector Archive Services grades Trilogos the harshest of the big three grading companies. AFA and UKG are kind of, you know, a little bit more lax with the blister score, and as a result, the overall score for a lot of these Trilogos, because these blisters on the Trilogos are very thin, they're very fragile, they dent really easily, they cave in really easily, so it's hard to find them in good shape. And in general, I've found that CAS grades them the harshest. That's just my personal opinion. But this one had 285 subscores, so I was really interested in it. But unfortunately, it ended after the other one that I preferred and I really wanted. So I didn't go after this one. But it sold for $610, 31 bids. I think that this price is probably fair. You know, there was one, I believe that was an AFA graded example that sold at Hakes. And it sold for more than this, if memory serves. I want to say it's sold for $700 or $800. So, you know, and that was AFA graded. So usually there's a slight discount, admittedly, with CAS graded items. So in this case, I think $610 was probably fair. I would have paid that personally, but it just was bad timing because I really wanted another one that was ending around the same time. So I had to let that one go. And I'm glad I did, because this ended up being won by a YouTube channel subscriber. So congrats to who bought this, and I'm glad I wasn't bidding against you on it. But the next one that was really interesting, but a little bit lower grade, but a really tough one to find on the Trilogo card back, is the Luke Skywalker X-Wing pilot. And this was labeled as a PBP Spanish figure inside. But in my opinion, CAS did not label, you know, they didn't put it on the label, and there weren't enough photos close up of the figure. But usually the Scar COO Luke X-Wing has a pale face, and it looks like it to me. I mean, if you look at that left hand there, that's a very, very pale hand, and he's known for having a pale face, pale hand Scar COO. So it probably is, and, you know, it's sold by Jeff, who's probably one of the foremost experts in the world on these, you know, vintage Star Wars figures. I just wish that CAS had taken the time to label it as Luke Skywalker -PBP instead of just saying Luke Skywalker. And it was a little bit lower grade. It was a 75, 70, 80. There was some card wear to it. And the blister, I mean, this is not a 70 for the blister, in my opinion. Are you kidding me? That is a really, really harsh score, in my opinion, for this item. This is really a 75, in my opinion. Maybe not. I mean, to me, you know, they labeled the card as a 75, but the blister as a 70, and the figure got an 80. Okay, so I can live with the figure score. And to me, if you're going to give a 70 anywhere, give it to the card back. The card back had lots and lots of edge wear, as you can see at the top and on the edges there. So I could see a 70, 75, 80 instead of a 75, 70, 80. The blister does not look like a 70. I'm sorry, and it's not an overall 70. So in my opinion, this is really undergraded, and I would be hard-pressed to believe that it would get a 70 if you sent it to UKG or maybe even AFA. I don't know. So to me, it was undergraded, and it was a beauty. It was a stunner. I would love to have had it, but it just was, I can't have it all, right? So I went after a different one. But this one sold for $677. To me, that's a great buy. That is a great buy. If I agree, I think that it is a Spanish figure inside. But even if it's just the regular Hong Kong or China figure inside, the Trilogo X-Wing Luke is a very tough one to find. And to get it for $677, that's a price I'd pay all day long. Here's the one I went after and the one I won. And, of course, it went the most money. But that's the CAS, and I apologize again about the cough. I'm sick as a dog. But this is the CAS 80 Trilogo Bush. And again, as I talked about, you can see the blister. It looks yellowed, right? I don't have it in hand yet, but I'm hoping that it's not yellowed. And the label says it's not yellowed, but CAS has missed things before. But it's labeled 80, 80, 85 for an overall 80 score, barely eked out an 80. It's also a punched example. So I was hoping to get this around 600, and I went nuclear with my bid because I had to have it. You guys know, if you watch my channel for long enough, I've been trying to get a Trilogo Bush for a long time, probably 5 years, where I've been trying to find this one. And there was one on Dark Side Alliance on Facebook that was ungraded that was probably admittedly in better condition than this one. I missed it by milliseconds. It was around 600 or 650 ungraded. So is 710 fair? Probably. There was, the person that bought the one on Dark Side got it graded with UKG. It came back with an 80, and then he sold it for like 900 or 950. So is 710 fair relative to that recent sale? Yes. But it was more than I wanted to spend. So I was hoping it would go a little bit lower, but I did get it for 710 plus shipping plus taxes. So I had to rely on PayPal credit. So I recommend, for those of you like me who I didn't have enough to buy this, I had probably half that amount in my PayPal from sales that I've done recently, but I had to have it. So I put it on PayPal credit, and PayPal credit's nice. I mean, it's interest free for the first 6 months. So I've got 6 months to come up with about $400, which I think I can do if I'm disciplined and I sell a few things. So I wasn't going to let it go, but I also didn't have the money for it. So I put it on PayPal credit along with another item, another loose graded item that Jeff had that I'll cover in a later video. But it's a stunner. I'm really excited to finally get it. I'm hoping that blister is not yellowed. I'm sure it's not, but we'll take a closer look at it when it gets here, along with the loose graded Lily Letty that I picked up during this same auction lot. So beautiful item. And Jeff's Collectible Empire, I've bought from him many times, both on Facebook and on eBay, and I've always been happy with my purchases from Jeff. So thank you again, Jeff, for the Bush ahead of time. I hope it arrives safe. Next up is a Toy Tony. This is a 65 back B Hoth Stormtrooper high grade. That should set off some alarm bells for you guys. When you see a high grade Palatoy 65 back Hoth Stormtrooper, there are a lot of these that were Toy Tonys, and these obviously were assembled after the fact using overstock blisters, overstock card backs, and then this guy Tony back in 2013, it finally came to light that he was. I think it was 2013, where he was assembling these himself, and then they were passing muster with AFA and UKG. So this one was graded AFA 85. So it's a Toy Tony, but it's still sold for good money. It sold in an auction for $425, and that seems to be the going rate for a lot of Toy Tonys right now. Unless it's like a Luke or a Palatoy Toy Tony, Boba Fett, those go for a lot more money. But I bought my Toy Tony General Mills German card back Bosk that was graded UKG 90, and that one I paid around $550 for on Facebook last year. So $425 plus $10 shipping. I think that's probably fair for a Toy Tony, but just be aware of what it is when you're looking at these. And you can go to Mr. Palatoy's card back guide on Google, and it lists out the exact numbers of what they think the population of Toy Tonys are that are out there. And it's not exact, obviously. It's not perfect, but it gives you a rough idea. And if you see a high-grade Palatoy card back, especially like a C-3PO removable limbs that's high-grade, it's probably a Toy Tony. Yeah, there's like 2,000 of those out there. So But this is an example of one, and by all means, as long as you know what it is, I think that 425 is probably fair, just given what most Toy Tonys go for these days. Next up was a 77 back A Bush. This one was a punched example, graded CAS 80. Lots of wear around the hang tab there, and the card got an 80 score, which I don't think that's an 80 in my opinion. If you look at the crease above the hang tab as well as the edge wear around the hang tab, this is probably like a 75 score for the card in my opinion, but probably still an overall 80. The blister looks fine, it's just yellowed. The figure score is obviously an 85, so it's probably still a yellowed 80, but I just think that that sub-score of 80 is probably a little generous, which can happen. I mean, you know, nobody's perfect, but anyway, that one sold for $271. I mean, I think that price is fair. I've seen these yellowed blister US Return of the Jedi Bush mint on cards. They can go for $240 ungraded, so I think that price was more than fair. Next up was a Paplu. This is obviously a made in Mexico for the US market. It's got the clear blister on the lower left-hand corner. Let's see. On here, yeah, there it is. It's kind of towards the middle at the bottom of the card back. It says figures made in Mexico. And all Paplus are, but to my knowledge. So that one's got the clear blister along with the Anakin offer. And that one's graded AFA 80. That's a really nice example. This is one I think you can, you know, I'd like to pick one of these up because they're very reasonably priced right now. Paplu, you know, a punched example of Paplu, nice clear blister. $250 all day long, and that's what this would sold for. 79 back C, 75, 85, 80 were the sub scores on that one. So that's one I wouldn't mind picking up eventually. That's a nice last 17. And then finally, we had an AFA 75 Y-Wing. So mint and sealed box. So it's not qualified. The qualified AFA labels will be blue. So this one is a true mint and sealed box Y-Wing, graded 75. And that one sold in an auction yesterday. That one sold for $864, which again, that seems like a lot of money, but you know, if it's an AFA 80, I've seen them go for, you know, closer to $1,000 to $1,200. So again, that's probably another very fair price for a mint and sealed box graded Y-Wing. And again, that was AFA 75. So anyway, probably more information that you wanted to know on some of the items that I was looking at and kind of the logic behind it, or you know what I was thinking as I was bidding. But some people like that kind of stuff, so I just thought I'd share what was running through my mind as those beautiful Trilogos were ending. But I decided to go for the Bush, and I finally got it. That's the last really big item on my want list for this year that I wanted. So I don't really have, I got to be honest, I don't have any other mint on cards that I'm actively looking for. Will I go after one sometime this year? Probably, but I've had a good run to start the year, and I think now with my budget where it is, it's probably going to be some pretty slim pickings for me after these two pickups from Jeff Jacobs on eBay. So anyway, thanks again for watching, and I'll be back soon.